Hi, in this video we're going to talk about using a different type of main function. Here we can see the main function that everybody's used to using in C++. Int main with nothing inside the parentheses and then return 0 at the end. So first I want to say a few things about the main function and programs in general, and then we're going to talk about a different kind of main that you'll need to know about. So first of all, every integer returning function needs to return an integer. That's what we're used to, right? Did you know that you can actually leave this line off and the program will compile fine? Well, there you go. The C++ standard actually doesn't require to have a return statement at the end of main. Even though its return type is integer, a special exception is made for main, where the compiler will actually put the return statement at the end for you if you don't put it on there. I'm not opposed to putting the return statement in here, so I'll do it, but I just wanted you to know about that. Another thing to know about the programs that you've been writing so far is many of you are probably used to writing your program inside the Qt Creator IDE and then just building and running at the same shot right here with this button. So now it does two things. It builds your program and then it runs it inside of a console here. Did you know that there's other ways that you can run your program? You might have expected that there might be because most of the programs that you buy or download don't have to be run within Qt Creator. So let's look at how we can run this program, not inside of Qt Creator. So it's already been built because we built and ran it using this button here. Where is the program and how can we run it? So I have my project file here, C Qt practice folder I made, practice 1, and here's the project where I open it up every time, and there's my main.cpp. If I go back up a level into this build folder, we have debug and release. So far I've been building it in debug. Here's the executable. So you can double click on it and it'll run. Now notice that it ran real quick and then disappeared because there's nothing to hold up the execution here. It's just cout in an end program. If you put a cin.get here and then build it, it'll actually wait for you to do something before the program ends. So again, we'll go back to our executable here in this folder and double click on it. Now the window pops up and stays until you take some kind of action. I'm going to press enter, and that's enough for the program to end and the window goes away. So there's another way that you can run your executable program that you've built inside of Qt Creator, for those of you that have only ran your program from inside the IDE. There's still one more way. Actually, there's several other ways to run your program, but there's another way that you should be aware of, which is running it from the command prompt. So I'm using Windows. This is going to work a little bit differently from if you're using Linux, Unix, or Mac OS, but we'll see the general how this works. So you can run your program from the command line. So at the command line, I'm going to go back to root. I'm going to navigate to the folder where I have my that executable file. So I have it in Qt practice. I'm going to go to practice 01. I'm going to go into that build folder, and then I'm going to go into the debug folder where the executable is. So now I've gotten to the place where that executable file is that I double clicked on before. You can run it from the command line by typing in the name of the program. So here I'm going to type in practice 01. You don't have to type the exe if it's in Windows. So what happens when I hit enter? It ran the program. And right now the program's not done yet because I put that cin.get. When I push enter, the program's done and it goes back to the prompt. So you can run any of these programs that you're running from the command prompt. If you're doing this in Linux or Unix or Mac OS X, you can't just type in practice 01, you have to actually tell it the folder you're in, so as you're doing that. So the way you would do that is you put // and then the name of the program that you're running. / means current folder. Even though in at the command line for in Unix or Mac OS X, it'll show the path already, you still have to do / practice 01 if you're doing this in Unix. Alright, so we successfully ran the program in 3 different ways. Once from the IDE, once by double clicking on the executable file, and then running it from the command prompt. Alright, so now it's time to talk about a different kind of main function. We're used to this with nothing in the parentheses. Another way that you might see main is like this. Okay, so this is the other form of main, and it's important to know this not only because you might want to use it for what I'm about to show you, but also because other libraries, if you use them, will require you to use this form of main. So what is this and what does it mean? Well, basically, these are command line arguments. So remember how we ran our program from the command line here? We said practice 01 and just ran it with nothing after the practice 01. Well, sometimes you run a program, and as you're typing the name into the command line, you want to say some other stuff, like help. Sometimes if you type a program name and then -help, it'll display a bunch of help information. Or there's various programs that require something after, and I'll show you. Here's another example. The compiler that I'm using is G++. So the name of to run that program, you put G++ and then the name of the file that you want to compile. So if you wanted to run compile your program not from the IDE but at the command line, this is what you would type: G++, the name of the program, and then the name of the file that you want to compile. How does it know that so you type in the name G++. How does the G++ program know what you typed in afterwards? What file needs to be compiled? That's where this other type of main comes in right here. So there's an integer, and then there's a double char pointer right here. So the integer indicates how many arguments you typed at the command line. When you just type in the name of the program, like in this case G++, that's one argument, one thing that you typed in. If you put something after it, like help, like this, that's 2 arguments. So each string separated by white space is an argument. Okay. So argc in the last example would have been 2 because I typed in G++ and -help. This second term right here is actually a represents a two-dimensional char array which has C strings. So it's that you can think of it as a one-dimensional array of C strings. Sometimes you'll see it with this form right here. Oop. So alright, there we go. So what this is saying is that, again, that we have a two-dimensional char array. Remember, we can represent that with pointers or with the bracket symbols. And it's actually representing a one-dimensional array of C strings. So I'll show you how we can use this in a second. I prefer this notation here. So argv has the actual strings that we typed, like the first string will be G++ and the second string will be -help. And then argc tells you the number of arguments. So what I'm going to do is first cout you entered argc arguments. Alright, so I'm going to build it. And then let's run our practice program from the command line. Practice 01. Okay, so it says you entered one argument because all we typed was practice 01. That's just one word. Let's run this program again. Practice 01 blah black bloop. Alright, how many arguments is this going to be? Well, I typed in practice 01 blah black and bloop, so that should be 4 arguments, right? Yep, so it picked it up. That's what argc tells us. Now to actually let the program access those individual strings, that's what argv does. So let's check that out. Just as an example, we're just going to print out all of the arguments. Your arguments were, and then it's going to show the arguments. Okay, so what do we expect this program to do? So first, from argc, it's going to give us the number of arguments. You entered however many number of arguments. Then it's going to prepare you. Your arguments were, and then this for loop is going to execute argc times. So if there was 2 arguments, it'll execute 2 times. And then for each time that executes, it's going to execute each print to the console each argument. So this is how you access argv. argv0 is going to be the first argument, practice 01. argv1 is going to be the next argument after practice 01. Let's try this out real quick and see how it works. So I'm going to build this, and then let's go ahead and execute it from the command line. So practice 01. So we'll try it first with just one argument. Alright, you entered one argument. Your arguments were practice 01. Okay, let's try it again. Practice 01 blah. You entered 2 arguments. Your arguments were practice 01 and blah. Alright, you get the idea. So the purpose of this video was to show multiple ways that you can execute the programs that you're writing in Qt Creator. You can run it within the IDE by hitting this button where it builds it and runs your program all in one step. Or you can just build it and then go to the folder where it put your executable and double click on it. Or you could navigate to that folder in the command prompt and type the name of your program. The other thing that we learned was about this different type of main where it has argc and argv in there, and that argc is the number of arguments that you type at the command prompt, and argv actually is an array of C strings that holds those arguments so that your program can access them later. Alright, that's the end of this video.